Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Bayonetta 2 walkthrough. It's time for Chapter 13, Vigrid, City of Déjà Vu. Sound familiar? Well, it bloody should do. Also, this is Salamandra here. Just... oh, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful when you're kind of riding around on it. Oh, I love it.
I know where this is. I know when this is.
So, we're back in Vigrid. For those of you who haven't experienced the first game, basically it entirely takes place in Vigrid, which is basically the city where Bayonetta grew up. And when is it? Well, we've just been sent back into the past by about 500 years. So we are currently in the middle of the witch hunts, which is something that's really cool to finally get to see. Can't say that I quite agree with the witch hunts being kind of the final levels of the game, but I do appreciate and really enjoy that they brought them here. Also, we get to face off against basically all of the angels that we faced off against in the first game, which is another reason why it's a bit like... because... so we've been fighting bigger and more powerful enemies than this throughout the entirety of the game. And then we get to the end, and suddenly we're fighting guys that were basically just the basic mooks that we fought plenty of in the first game, which is just a bit... ow.
My turn now. You've been naughty.
One of the really cool things, though, is that certain elements are hidden in the same places as they were in the first game. So that broken witch heart at the on that little balcony, that particular verse, and so on and so forth. It's a really nice kind of little touch. And I do like that we return here. I just think that they needed something a little more to happen after the witch hunts. Because it is a bit of an anticlimax, really. Because, like, we had all of the fights in hell, and that was just epic. And it was just like, oh my god! And then suddenly we're taken completely out of the way of Fimbulventer. So it's kind of just like, right, don't really know what I'm doing anymore. Now, this weapon setup is basically what I'm going to be using for the rest of the game. Technically, to get the most out of the Undine-Salamandra combo, you have to have kind of like go on two separate weapon setouts. So you have Salamandra on your hands and feet on B, and Undine and whatever on your hands and feet on A, and you kind of then swap once you're frozen and it gives you better. But anyway, Shadows and Vigrid. The witches are gone from this universe. They were said to have been killed off one by one during the malicious witch hunts that once spread through Europe. At least that's what's written in the books. The real truth is a little more complicated. The mass slaughter known as the witch hunts of Vigrid was in truth a war of mythical proportions. The Lumen sage responsible for the war launched a conflict that expanded beyond just humanity, reaching into Inferno and Paradiso as well. The Angels' offensive was so overpowering that the Umbra were completely wiped out, but in the aftermath this destructive fate also met the Lumen, and both clans were wiped from history. As I researched the Umbra and Lumen, who are considered the overseers of history, I learned that what we see with our eyes and hear with our ears isn't always the truth I thought it to be. An Umbra witch who survived the witch hunts of the past, what sort of monumental secrets are locked away in her destiny? They unfold even now in the unending cycle of life and death. Crazy to think that something that could decide the fate of the universe is taking place in Noatun at this very instant. At least that's what my instinct's telling me is happening. I'll use this prized nose of mine to sniff out whatever is really going on. Which is good. It's a bit weird that we're getting journal echoes in here. I mean, it makes sense because video games. But it doesn't make sense that somehow they've flown all the way here into the past. But either way, Muspelheim time! Now I will say that there's a lot of gameplay and a lot of fighting that goes on in these next few chapters. So, it's good and it's nice and it's helpful. But we're also about to enter into one of the most awesome cutscenes in the game. It's wonderful. Well, that was a slightly disappointing Muspelheim, I have to say. Very ridiculously easy. It's mostly because, like, I don't find the applauds very terrifying at all. I guess because I killed so many of them in the first game that it's just like, yep, they're just a normal enemy. Nothing to be worried about. There's certainly no allegiance. We will, however, be reintroduced to some enemies that I do dislike. But either way,
we will be overrun soon. Gather at the clock tower. We must defend it with all our strength. You?
and so we get to fight alongside Rosa, Bayonetta's mother, which is just like, ah! Because she was such an enigmatic figure in the first game, and because you only saw her in a few cutscenes, and that was about it. And then you get to see her here, and she's just the most badass witch ever. And I mean, introducing her during that cutscene, which just shows her being an absolute badass, it's brilliant. Obviously, we did get to fight with her during the Remembrance of Time prologue thingy at the beginning. But this is the first time that we properly get to fight with her. And she's deadly. Not quite as deadly as Rodan, in the sense that she's not going to kind of destroy the angels before you can actually kill them, but she's still pretty damn powerful. And now we get to take on Fortitudo, getting to hear once again the wonderful in labours and dangers. Now the other slightly frustrating thing is that throughout our time in the witch hunts, we're basically going to be refighting all of the cardinal virtues from the first game, so it's kind of, once again, we're just re-fighting enemies. And this is a bit of an awkward fight because he kind of constantly stays just away from you and only pops his head in every now and again, which is a pain to hit because you've got to kind of get your witch time on to be successful. But anyway, I should probably bring up that Rosa is voiced by Helena Taylor, who also voices Bayonetta. She just kind of goes for a little bit of a sort of deeper tone, which is quite cool. And I will be using this part to talk about Jeanne's voice actress, but I will leave it for a little bit longer because I believe we're going to run into another journal echo at some point in the very near future. And then we get this really amazing quick time event. Oh, it's amazing! Just having Bayonetta and Rosa kind of double team and stuff is just awesome! And what's even cooler is that if you use torture attacks whilst you are fighting alongside Rosa, then you basically kind of dual team during the torture attacks. It's brilliant. You'll certainly be seeing some of them in the walkthrough. I just can't quite remember when. Gosh darn it, so close to getting a pure platinum there. Now, this bridge section. So in the first game, obviously, it was you had a flashback sequence to this very moment, actually, except it was the evil Fortitudo that was attacking you and destroying things. Whereas here, it's this massive ship that's trying to kill you. And it's very easy to get hit there. Very ridiculously easy. So be very careful. And right on cue, where darkness falls. Similar to the secret underground passageways you'd expect to find behind bookshelves in old looming mansions, Vigrid was full of rooms with secret passageways and training rooms the Umbra used. I found that out a while back while I was researching the Umbra. Later I learned my old man had stumbled upon the same thing. Anyways, witches draw their strength from the darkness. They were set up facilities that allowed them to train indoors while it was light outside. It could be that they hated the sunlight, or maybe it was a measure they took to keep their secret arts as far from the public eye as possible. Most of these hidden passages were forgotten after the witch hunts. The time passed, and the city developed. Most of the inhabitants probably would never think there could be some secret path in the very house they live in. When you think about it, maybe they're happier not knowing. It's very true. And as we come up here, we get to fight down more of these guys. But we're also going to be introduced, well, reintroduced to Fairness and Fearless, which are the dog enemies, which are quite cool. Anyway, as I've been holding off for a ridiculous amount of time, and there's been no need for me to hold off, but I have been. Jeanne is voiced by Grey Delisle, or as she is now known, Grey Griffin. She got remarried. Basically, you've probably heard Grey Delisle's voice at some point, because she's been in so much. So she's been Daphne Blake in a lot of Scooby-Doo stuff. She is Wasp in Ultimate Avengers. She is Betty Rubble in numerous Flintstones things. She is Vicky, Tootie, Veronica, and other various voices in the Fairly Odd Parents. Vicky is probably one of the most ones that I recognise her from. She's Padme Amidala, Asajj Ventress, Adigalia Shakti in Star Wars Clone Wars. She's Kimiko Tohomiko in Shaolin Showdown. Yumi Yoshimura in Hi Hi Fluffy Yami Yumi. Azula in Avatar The Last Airbender. She's just everywhere. And she's also pretty cool in general. I seem to recall that seems to be actually a kind of really nice person. Oh, she's also Jacqueline Natler in Tomb Raider Anniversary and Tomb Raider Underworld. And also what's really cool is that she is the voice of the newscaster from the opening of the game. So you may be wondering why the heck I'm just kind of obliterating all these things for Halos. Well, it's because I want them and I very do much just want to get that last broken moon pearl from the gates of hell. Because kinda need it and it'd be helpful. Anyway, hello beloved. Took me a minute there to remember what he was called, but yes, this is a beloved. And yeah, this guy is a dick. Because I mean, that was a very quick verse, but we're gonna have to face him down twice more before we've actually managed to kill him, which is just a bit ridiculous, really. And oh, this section. So you've got to use your witch time to cross over the molten lava. What the game doesn't warn you is that at the end of this pathway there is a Umbran Tears of Blood waiting out on the bridge there. If you do not catch it before it flies away, it will not fly back. Therefore, you will have to redo the entire chapter if you want to get it. Because the game auto-saves pretty much as soon as you get to that bit of the bridge. It's just ridiculous. Now, if you hadn't managed to get across the bridge before it collapsed, then you can get across to it via these kind of platforms in the lava. But it's a very dangerous thing, because if you fell off but didn't get the Umbran Tears of Blood and you activated the checkpoint that starts here, yeah, you're screwed. But going through here, the beloved's back. And now we have a wonderful little repeat of the fight that we had in Chapter 1 of Bayonetta 1, actually. Where you had the beloveds kind of moving the bridge about and trying to smash you in stuff. Although this is obviously a lot more dangerous because he's trying to dip you into lava. Now be very careful here. Don't fall into the lava, because it can happen, and it's very embarrassing when it does. And I don't believe I have enough halos to get the next Moon Pearl. No! Oh well. Now, I say, once again, I don't like the fact that the characters kind of constantly harp on at you to just like, let's go! It's this way! No, don't go that way! Because it's just like, no, just shut up, let me do what I want to do, thank you. Be helpful. Now, something that I want to bring up, and I probably should have brought it up when we were actually in Vigrid proper, but now's as good a time as any, really. So, Vigrid actually comes from Norse mythology, and as we face the return of grace and glory, basically it comes from Vigrither, which is the Oskopner, which is basically a massive battleground that is where Ragnarok takes place, basically. But, I mean, I do quite like the... Well, because Vigrither, it's kind of funny because the th is... Well, the th sound is actually the letter F, which looks like a D with a kind of dash through the top. It's a wonderful kind of old letter. So I'm assuming that's partly why it's anglicised as Vigrid. Also, that is another really evil Broken Witch heart to get. Because you have got to be on it when you're jumping off there, otherwise you're going to miss it. And then you're screwed. Also, I think I was so close to falling into the lava there, that was unreal. But we are very, very, very near the end of the chapter now. Like, there's a lot going on in these chapters, but they do go by very quickly. Especially the next one. The next one is ridiculously short. But it's also ridiculously awesome, so it kind of balances out. Now, I believe that, yeah, there's absolutely nothing in that room, which is a bit weird. But I think it's because it's... I think it's used in a cutscene somewhere, but I'm not 100% sure. But we've got one more Muspelheim to go in here, which is here. I don't quite get why you have to run over some of them to activate them, and others they're just there. It's a little bit like, what? Need the consistency, please. But I'll be quite grateful when this chapter is over, because it's certainly not one of my favourites, even though you do get introduced to Rosa. And I remember that, I can't remember who stated it, but part of the reason that they may have changed Bayonetta's outfit, I mean one of the reasons is that Bayonetta would never show up to her own sequel wearing the same clothes. But basically in fighting alongside Rosa, you needed something to differentiate her from kind of Bayonetta. Because in the first game, Bayonetta's style is very much based on her mother's. So it's the beehive and all of that. So having a different style means that Bayonetta and Rosa kind of stand out against each other when fighting, which is what you need, because you need to be constantly aware of where Bayonetta is and stuff so that you don't get hit, basically. And we're very, very, very nearly complete with our health. We've only got one more witch heart to collect. It's insane, like, how quick this game goes. I mean, it is partly because it is way shorter than the original Bayonetta. So the original Bayonetta was about maybe 8 to 10 hours long, say. This game is much more 5 to 7. And obviously that's totally depending on how much you try and do all the verses, whether you kind of replay stuff, how good you are as well, really. Because if you struggle at the game, it's going to take you a while. Now, with this fight, because of the whole kind of molten stuff all over him, when I first did this fight, I thought, oh, I can't touch him. So I was very, very, very hesitant to get up close and personal. Basically because in the first game there were enemies that were coated like this, and you got hurt if you touched them. So I wasn't completely a numpty in thinking that, but now you're fine, just hit him, slaughter him, he'll go down eventually, and you don't get hurt if you just punch him normally, which is an absolute godsend, really, because this makes it go so much quicker. Although sometimes it does feel like this fight goes on a little bit longer than it maybe should do. But either way, it's time to hit that climax. And we get to summon both Gamora and Labas. Oh, it's always wonderful when there's a tag team. And with that, Chapter 13 is complete. Oh my good God, I got a lot of platinums there. Good grief. I don't think I've ever seen such a platinum-y thing. Good God. Anyway, time to move on to Chapter 12. No, Chapter 12, Chapter 14.